You're about to watch an interview with Kenyon Glover, former NBA basketball player, an actor, entrepreneur, all kinds of things. He is a very successful person and he has a lot of powerful messages to share with us. I do want to give you a warning though that in spots the video got a little glitchy and Zoom kind of let me down, but the audio is totally fine and there's no issues there. This interview is definitely worth listening to and watching. He shares a lot of powerful messages that I want to apply to my own life, and I really took to heart. So I was very grateful for him to spend the time to do this, and let's enjoy this interview. We have Kenyon Glover here today, and Kenyon has done amazing things. He's been in the NBA, he's made movies, TV shows. I think you're even a minister, if I'm right. and
Yes.
been in commercials, on magazine covers, and it's just a real privilege to have you here today, get to know you a little bit more, and then also get some advice on things that you have found helpful to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. It's such a pleasure to be, connected with you and making this happen. So we've been talking about doing something for a long time. So I'm glad it was this moment right here. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
All right, perfect, Kenyon. I want to start out with your childhood. You grew up in Monroe, Louisiana, and if you could just kind of let us know, like, what were some challenges you had, and what were also some successes you had growing up there?
Um, Growing up in a small town in Monroe, Louisiana, there wasn't really many challenges. So to speak. I couldn't say, well, you know what? I take it back. The only thing I would say that I was really challenged with was watching my mom being abused by my stepfather. I had to pretty much watch that on a daily basis, seeing my mom get beat up and, black eyes and her jaw would be swollen sometime. And that was the most challenging part, just watching her go through that on a daily basis. And I would be in my room and I would hear some commotion going on in their room. And I would just hear my mom being slammed up against the wall and all these thumping and loud noises. And, my mom would be crying. And, at that time as a kid, you don't know what to do. Being a, 7, 8, 9 year old kid, you watching your mom go through this and nothing you can do about it, but sit there and just like, you know, wonder if you could do something. Should I go in there and try to defend her, or or risk the chance of me getting beat up, or even probably more? So that was probably the most challenging thing. Me growing up in Monroe. Anything else was great. I mean, my schooling was great. I was a straight A student. I kept a 3.8, 3.9 GPA all throughout school, high school. Basketball student. I was a basketball god in my city. So I was a martial artist as well. I mean, other than the fact that my stepfather beat on my mom and was an abuser, but he also taught me martial arts. He helped me to become a great fighter, actually a great martial artist, because he was an instructor. He was a martial arts teacher. So he pretty much taught me everything he knew about martial arts, and he helped me with basketball. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have grown to love the sport of basketball the way that I did, and grew it to the person that I grew into, as far as making it to the NBA. So my stepdad has some good qualities about him and not so good qualities. So I don't really hold a grudge against him too much, just for the way he treated my mom. But it's in the past now, and she's forgiven him, so I've forgiven him. So it's all good. So successes. Yeah, I mean, basketball, martial arts, that was my success. That was my moment of peace, you know. Playing basketball and doing martial arts was my moment of peace. That's where I found common ground. I was able to get away from the negative emotions that went on in the household. So when I was playing basketball, I felt free. I felt alive. I felt like nothing could bother me, nothing could defeat me while I was on the basketball court, or while I was competing in martial arts. Beating up people, beating up men. I'm a kid beating up men. I just got that good. So I took all my frustration out in martial arts. I took all my anger out, in the basketball court. So I would say that was my success, just being able to play, find a passion in basketball and martial arts, and find my gifts and my talent. And I was able to, you know, go to the NBA and pursue a college career. And that took me all the way to college, got me college scholarships, so I was able to graduate from college and get a business degree, a bachelor's degree. So that was the success I take from it.
Did the martial arts and the basketball also give you discipline or some other intangible skills that you've used in life? Because I've noticed, like in other things, you talked about martial arts as being really critical to developing some discipline.
Right. Oh yeah, it definitely helped me with discipline. It helped me with finding inner peace. Like I said, basketball was my getaway. Basketball was my freedom. I was able to find out who I really was, through those two areas of sports, basketball and martial arts. Of course, martial arts taught me discipline. It taught me um, how not to fear pretty much anything or anybody. Um, I never was fearful because of that, not only because of martial arts, but because my stepdad instilled that in me to never fear anything or anybody, because I didn't fear him. I learned not to fear him, even though I knew that he could probably, take me out if he wanted to. But he always told me not to fear him, despite of what he could possibly do. But over time, I started not to fear him. And because I didn't fear him, I didn't fear anybody else or anything else. Um, and just basketball was just, like I said, my point of freedom. It also taught me how to be a competitor, a very competitive. I mean, I wanted to compete at the highest level. I wanted to be the absolute best that I could possibly be in basketball and martial arts. So I wanted to excel. I wanted to be the absolute best. I wanted to get to the point where I could not be stopped. I could not be beat. I was training every single day. It taught me hard work. It taught me how to develop a work ethic. So with those two sports and building confidence and developing the unstoppable characteristics that I attained over time, that's what I take from those two sports that I embrace.
Wow, that is huge. The lack of fear or being fearless, because I know most people, that's probably a huge thing that they struggle with. I know myself, what I mean, just even contacting you initially, what I mean, I'm kind of like, well, seriously, what goes in my mind is like, who am I? Who am I to be contacting Kenyon
Right.
Glover and stuff like this? But to have that fearless mindset instilled in you, I mean, that's really powerful. That's a really powerful asset. So the next question I have is, you went to Maine to play basketball.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of like shocks, going to college, or the recruiting process, or was anything there that was like stands out to you as like, wow, I learned something there?
Well, you know what? I didn't start off in Maine. I actually went to University of Massachusetts first, UMass in Boston. So I was recruited from high school. I mean, I was recruited from, wow, hundreds of schools coming out of high school. And I narrowed it down to three colleges. It was UMass, um, University of Mississippi, and yeah, what was it? LSU. So I chose UMass. So I went to UMass and I played for a couple of years. And I just I didn't thrive there the way I wanted to. Me and the coach didn't get along. Then there was some other incidents that I wasn't really comfortable with that was going on behind the scenes. So I decided to transfer. So a friend reached out to me who was a coach at university. No, his friend was a coach at the University of Maine. He was like, why don't you go play for my friend? He's a good dude, good coach. I think you guys will get along very well. So I was like, all right, this seems like a good school. So I decided to give it a shot and finished my last 2 years at University of Maine. So I transferred there. And he was right. He was a good coach. We got along great. The school was great. The atmosphere was great. The energy was great. Um, the city was great. The city embraced me with open arms. I enjoyed it. I loved it. You know, very supportive, very basketball loving community. So it was a great experience. The only thing I didn't like was the snow. It literally snowed from the time I got there in September until the time school almost let out. So that was the only bad thing I didn't like about Maine is just come on now, all this snow, man. I want to enjoy some kind of hot weather.
Okay.
But that was the only thing I did like about it. But other than that, I mean, it was great. It was great. I adjusted to it eventually, and you know, I got used to the snow. It actually turned out to be pretty cool. I actually started liking the snow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, my teammates, man, were great. Actually, we a couple of us still stay in touch to this day.
Mm.
You know, from back in UMaine. They still you actually still based in UMaine, I think. So
Mm.
we still stay in touch, and you know they like my brothers. We
Yeah.
went to war together. We fought together.
Yeah.
You know, we almost won a championship together. So they always be my friends, my brothers. So we stay in touch all the time, and it was a great experience. Great experience. Those college years, man, is the best years of my life. Well, no, I would say probably the NBA years, but college years come in second.
Yeah.
Yeah, great college years. I miss those days.
Well, it's just like you're talking about the camaraderie, the people you're with, you're on
Yeah,
a journey together, you know, you're having a great experience. I mean, it's like, you know, it's a wonderful thing to do that. And I know myself, I've been a basketball coach for many years. And when you have something where it's lining up, it's special. And then you really appreciate it, especially like when you were comparing your first couple years of college to your second couple years, you know, and it's a big difference and it's a totally different experience. So I get it there.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Nothing like the college years, man.
yeah.
If I could get those years back. Just give me 2 years back.
So then you end up in England playing professional basketball. How did you go from college and then playing in England?
Well, I entered the NBA draft when I graduated college. I didn't get drafted, so of course you're stuck with continuing to either try out for a spot on the NBA team or you know trying to get overseas or play semi-professional somewhere. So I was out there putting my name out there. I was going out trying out for different NBA teams. I didn't make any teams. So my college coach knew so many different. He was well connected with a lot of different teams overseas, and he was from England. So he was like, "I can connect you to you know a couple of England teams in England. You know, you just pick whichever one you want to go to." And you know, I decided to you know weigh my options and see who was offering the best contract, and I decided to go England. Well, Plymouth Raiders in England. So they gave me a shot, and I went over there and put up good numbers. I played my heart out, played the best that I could. You know, I was pretty much like the Kobe Bryant of England. You know, so I went over there and showed out, man. You know, I was not going over there to play around. I said,
Yeah.
you know, eventually I was going to make it to the NBA. My dream of going to the NBA was not going to be over. It was not going to be diminished. Only because I'm playing overseas, that doesn't mean I'm not, you know, I'm going to stop trying to get into the NBA. And I didn't. So as I was playing overseas, I told my agent, I was like, look, you know, after every game, I want you to send my footage to NBA scouts. So after every game, he would do that. He would continue to send my footage, my game film to NBA scouts. And eventually, you know, it attracted some attention. So I got the call I was waiting on. That was the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the call, you go to the Milwaukee Bucks, right?
Yes, I went to the Milwaukee Bucks. They decided to give me a shot.
And then you make the team, you get on the team. You're so now you've reached your dream. You're in the NBA, you're playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. And then can you kind of talk about how that went and how it took a turn that you never saw coming?
Oh my goodness. Let me first of all, as soon as I got the call, man, as soon as I got the call, it was I mean, I think I just cried for probably 10 minutes because I was just so overjoyed, excited, ecstatic. I mean, I just got a call from the NBA, Milwaukee Bucks. So this was a dream come true for me. I worked my butt off. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this game that I love. Since I was 7 years old, I said I was going to get to the NBA. A small town boy from Monroe, Louisiana, I made it. So all of those things were going through my mind. And as soon as I got on the flight and I got to Milwaukee, as soon as I touched ground, man, it was just like, oh my goodness, I made it. I'm here. I'm here. Thank you, Lord. I kept thanking God over and over and over and over and over. And once I got to the facility, I was just taking all this in, man. It was a taking in moment for me for quite a while, because it's like, this is it. This is my dream.
Yeah.
I made it happen. So, as time went on, and I got a chance to get on the court and play with the guys, it was just the most incredible experience that you can ever imagine, playing in the NBA arena in front of an NBA crowd. I'm talking about in front of 30, 40,000 people, full of, an arena full of people. And you could just feel the energy, man. It was just exciting. I was so nervous. My first game, I was so nervous. Man, I was so nervous, man. I think the first game I played terrible because I was just so nervous.
Yeah.
I might have had like 4 points or something like that. But after time went on, I think after about the third game, I kind of got, started to get
Acclimated and yeah.
comfortable. Yeah, I started to get comfortable with everything, and like, okay, I'm here now. So let me show them why they brought me here. So I started playing better as time went on, and 3 months later, man, I had the most devastating experience that any athlete could have. I had a career-ending knee injury. It actually happened in practice. I was going up, and I was gonna dunk it, but I decided to just kind of finger roll it. But a teammate of mine, he wasn't actually a teammate. It's kind of like a practice, because in NBA you have practice players and then you have the actual NBA players. So it was a practice player. So he kind of grazed by me, but he didn't mean it. It wasn't intentional, but the way he grazed by me, it kind of threw me off balance just a little bit. And the way I landed so awkwardly that the bottom half of my leg went one direction and the top half of my leg went the other direction. So my knee is in between that. Everything in my knee was completely ruptured. So I had to have total knee replacement. And the doctor told me my career was done. He told me my career as a basketball player was finished, that everything in my knee couldn't be repaired. So I had to face the fact that I was done. My NBA career was over. My dream was over. And it was the most devastating feeling that I've ever had to go through. It was tough for me. And I went immediately into depression. I was depressed and suicidal. And people that know my story, I even tried to commit suicide on my life. So it was just that bad. I mean, I was only 25, 26 years old at the time. So for me, that was tough to really take, because I've never experienced anything like that. So, and I knew I'd worked so hard to get to that point, and for that to be just taken from me just like that over unintentional situation was hard for me to take.
Yeah, well, you talk about like how joyful you were when you got the phone call and coming to Milwaukee and going into the arena and playing with great players all around you, like your teammates and opponents and just everybody, and to go from that high to just in an instant it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely see how that would be just totally crushing. Just I mean, it's everything you've been working for, everything you wanted, and then just bam, it's gone. So
Yeah, it was devastating, man. It took me a long time to get over that. It took me years, at least 7, 8 years, to finally get past the point where, okay, I have to accept this and move on. I have to get over this. I have to let this stop lingering in the back of my mind and know that I'm done. I can't go back and try to play again, or I have to accept it. So it took me at least 8 years, I think, before I got to the point where I actually moved on.
how are you able to do that? Because a lot of people have things maybe not as devastating as that. Maybe they lose their job or something, but it's not, it doesn't change their whole career. Maybe they can still stay in that field,
Right.
but for you, like, how did you finally overcome that, or not have it uh, have the impact on you that it had?
Um, First and foremost, God was very instrumental in helping me get through that. God was my first source of inspiration, um, and He had to show me that I had another passion. He had to show me that He had other things that He wanted me to accomplish. He had other gifts and talents that He had given me that I haven't even really discovered yet, that I didn't even know I had. So I had to discover those talents and those gifts eventually, and allow those talents and gifts to manifest itself and lead me to what my destiny actually was. And I quickly found out that, well, not quickly, but I eventually found out that basketball wasn't really what I was supposed to do. It was just something that I love to do, but it wasn't what I was supposed to do. And it's a difference. I had to learn there was a difference of what you love to do and what you're supposed to do, what you're called here to do, what God created you to do. And basketball wasn't it, you know? So just me eventually just doing other things, getting myself into other things. And like I said, learning new gifts and talents. And I got into the entertainment business, and I started doing acting and modeling and filmmaking, and being an author and things like that. And I eventually started to shift my priorities. My mindset shifted. Um, so that was my turnaround. That was my turnaround moments. Just really focusing on the other things that I was doing. So eventually basketball was no longer part of my world. Basketball was put behind me. So I started focusing on what it really wanted me to do, which was go out and help change the world through film, television, writing books, speaking, and things like that. So that's where I am now.
Well, yeah, and ultimately you will impact more people in this way than you would have the other way, but you wouldn't have known that at the time. It wouldn't have been clear to you. Um, One thing I noticed as I talk to other people about is when one door closes, we look at that door that closed, and then but there's another door that did open. And
Yes.
I really appreciate you, how you had a door close on you, slam shut actually.
Right.
And then but then you did open up those other doors and you did pursue them. And I think it's really an example for all of us that when something happens to us, we do have these other doors, and we need to, like you, follow God, follow our guidance, and not try to, just stop ourselves, but like go with what we should be doing. And I really like how you talked about how, what you wanted to do, but then what you were I don't know if you said designed to do, or but what your
Yeah.
purpose was.
Yeah.
So um, another question is, what is something that you believe today that maybe an earlier version of you didn't believe? Maybe it's a thought or a belief or.
Um, the earlier version of me, um, I didn't know that. You know how today they say you will fail your way to success.
Mhm.
I didn't know that growing up. I didn't know that in the earlier years of myself. I didn't know that you had to fail in order to succeed. I heard it, but I didn't really understand what that meant. As a kid growing up, and as you go through life and you start to go through different things, and you're faced with different storms and trials and tribulations, you don't realize that those things are coming at you for a reason. You have to go through storms in order to grow. You have to go through pain in order to grow. You have to go through trials and tribulations in order to grow. You have to fail in order to succeed. And I didn't know that growing up. I didn't know that early in my life. I didn't understand it. I'm like, well, I'm going to be successful no matter what I do. I know I'm going to be great. I know I'm going to be successful, but not knowing that you got to go through pain, you got to go through disappointments, you got to go through challenges, you got to fail in order to learn how to be successful, in order to get to your destiny, in order to do what God created you to do. You can't skip steps. And me, I wanted to skip steps. So I didn't understand there was steps to be taken. So earlier me just was naive. And of course, as you grow older, you get more mature. You start to evolve, you start to grow, you start to learn um, that everything is a process. You got to go through the process. You can't skip steps.
Well, that's so powerful there. And how did you go from? I know you went to Atlanta and then you went to LA. How did you do that and not skipping the steps? Because obviously, you're not at the when you started, you weren't a known model
Right.
or a known actor or anything. So how did you kind of not skip the steps, but get to the point where you are now, where you're a known commodity and you're in TV shows and movies, and people would call you up and it'd be no big deal now. It would be natural.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I had to fail. When I got into the entertainment industry and I started acting, I didn't know it was going to be that hard because I was coming from the NBA. So okay, I'm thinking like, okay, I got a name. I just played in the NBA, so I'm thinking it's not going to be hard. I can transition right into the entertainment industry and boom, take off. People gonna know me. I just played for the Milwaukee Bucks. People know who I am. I'm coming in with that attitude, thinking that it was going to be easy for me just because of where I'm coming from in the NBA. Going into the entertainment industry, which is one of the most hardest, most difficult industries to be in my opinion, um, I realized that I was going to fail. Well, no, I didn't realize that I had to go through a lot of hardships to get to an elite level. I didn't know that coming in. I'm thinking, like I said, with my name, with my background, it was going to be easy. But I quickly found out that's not the case. It's not the case at all. So I started off with some very small productions, and eventually my biggest role came with Young and the Restless, the soap opera Young and the Restless. That was my first major role, and it took me a while to get to that level. It took me like 2 years after I got into the entertainment industry and started acting. I didn't get the major part until 2 years later, and after that, other things start opening up for me, bigger opportunities because of that. And even with that, it's just been up and down. It's been up and down. I might get a major role and I might not get another major role for a year or two later. So the entertainment industry is very hard, but it taught me that, like I said, you can't skip steps. It's not going to come easy. If you want to be if you want to be in this business long term, you got to continue to work. You got to continue to grind. You got to continue to improve your craft, work on your craft, getting better, networking, doing the necessary things you need to do, because the entertainment industry will it will defeat you. It's designed to defeat you if you don't have a strong mentality. You got to have a strong mentality. If you don't, it will eat you alive. It will eat you alive. You
So
got to come in determined. You got to come in hungry. You got to come in saying, you know what? I'm going to stay in this no matter what. I'm going to keep improving. I'm going to keep hitting the pavement. Keep grinding. Keep auditioning. Keep trying to be the best actor that I can be. And eventually, the big break is going to come, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. People think it can happen overnight, or you're an overnight success. None of that. No, none of that. Some people have been in this business since they were kids and still struggling to get a major role. I know a young lady who's been acting since she was like 4 or something like that, and have never gotten like a real major role. And she's still still in the business, still trying, still out there grinding. So it's taught me that you got to be patient. You got to be patient. Can't skip steps. It's a process, but you got to trust the process and just stay hungry.
Wow, I love that advice. Thank you. Another thing you do is you're a speaker and an author, and I'm sure you probably talk about this about not skipping the steps and the support system and the whole process there and believing in yourself. But when someone gets stuck, or someone you're working with a group, or and they get stuck, is what do you do to help them, or what advice would you give to someone if they feel stuck, or they feel like, oh, I'm capped out, or like, how can I get past that?
Um, wow. My biggest advice is to figure out why you got in it in the first place. Why did you get it? Why did you start it in the first place? You know, you got to have that. It's got to be something inside of you that is not going to quit no matter what. You got to have a no quit attitude. You know, success isn't, I believe that success isn't something that you pursue. Success is something that is developed. You develop a winning attitude. You develop a way to win. You develop a way to overcome any and all obstacles. And nobody's going to come do it for you. Nobody's going to come push you. Nobody's going to come, you know, instill whatever you need to be instilled inside of you. You got to have it in you. You got to have it in you. You got to have that fire in you. You got to have that desire to keep moving forward no matter what. You can't retreat. You can't surrender. You're going to feel defeated. You're going to feel like a failure at times. You're going to want to give up. You're going to want to give in. You're going to want to succumb to the pain and the hurt and the disappointments. We all do. I have plenty of times. But it's something in me that says, you know what? I was born to be great. I was born to do something special. I'm still here. I'm still breathing. God still here, has me here for a reason. I'm not just here just taking up space and just like, oh, well, I'm just going to do whatever and go about life, complacent and comfortable. And no, I want to be the greatest version of Kenyon Glover that I could possibly be. I want to leave a legacy. I think every person, if you don't have that desire in you to leave a legacy, if you don't have that desire in you to have some kind of contribution to mankind, then what are we living for? What are we living for? I want to contribute to this world. I want to leave a legacy. That's why I work as hard as I possibly can to be the best that I can be, because I don't want to leave this world and nobody knew that I wasn't here. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't. Who was Kenyon Glover? I never heard. No, I know. I want everybody to know who Kenyon Glover was or is when I leave this earth. So I think everybody has to have that desire inside. Everybody needs to have that fire. I know. I get it. Everybody don't have it, but you can find it. It's built into you. You just have to figure out what is your desire, what is your passion, what were you created to do, what is the dream that God has given you. Everybody has it. You just got to find out what it is.
A nice subway into this would be when you're acting, and you have to become a character. You have to kind of feel like, okay, what are their emotions, what's driving them, because I would think, to be a good actor, I'm not an actor, but I would just think that the more you can really like get that character and get like what drives them, then you're
Right.
going to be able to portray that better.
Yeah.
And so do you feel that as an actor, that you understand maybe self-image and drive and these things better, because you see how crucial they are, not just as an actor in roles, but how it actually plays out in real life?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as you take on different characters as an actor, you learn more about yourself. Each character you take on, you learn more and more about yourself. You learn more and more about other emotions that you have to kind of conjure up that you didn't even realize that you had. Because when you're studying different characters that you're playing, you have to kind of release everything that is of you and become another character. And as you continue to learn these different characters, it helps you as a person, actually. It helps you to get to the point where you can almost have total control of your emotions, of your response or of your actions. And with me, it's helped me a lot in that aspect, that I'm able to really get to the point to I'm able to control my emotions better. I'm able to, cry on the spot now when I never knew I could cry on the spot. You know, before I was an actor, it took everything in me to come up with a tear. You know what I mean? 'Cause I was,
No, well, that is the guy culture. I mean, you got to have someone's got to poke a pencil in your eye for you to
right,
cry.
right, exactly. Like I was raised, to be tough and hard and rough. So, me crying was like, what? Nah, that's for weaklings. But as you get older, it's like, and becoming an actor, I've learned to be able to cry on the spot. So, um, yeah. I mean, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, no, you've answered these questions great, and I have a lot of questions here, and they're kind of fluid. They're kind of like you'll answer parts that I have. Like my next question, you kind of already answered here in many ways, but it's basically about breakthroughs and how do people have breakthroughs. You've had a lot of breakthroughs in your life through basketball we talked about, and then acting, and but not just within acting, because you've been on the cover of magazines. You're an author. Your book is Rebirth and Resurrection of a New Man. You have KG Experience, which is fashion, film, and fitness. And so, like you've done a lot of breakthroughs, not just you're not just one dimensional. And how do you have all these breakthroughs, and what are things that people could glean from that if they're trying to have a breakthrough?
Um, I just stay with it. I stay, like I said earlier, I stay hungry, man. I'm just hungry to be everything that I was created to be. I'm just hungry to be successful. I'm hungry to be resilient. I'm hungry to be rememberable. You know what I mean? And I don't, I have no desire to stop. I think every day I wake up with a new hunger, a new passion. Um, I'm just resilient. I'm determined. I'm dedicated. I'm devoted. Um, and I think people need to stop avoiding pains. People need to stop avoiding failure. People need to stop avoiding challenges and disappointments, because by you avoiding those things, that just pushes you further and further away from your dream. That pushes you further and further away from what it really is that you want to do. Because those hardships, those challenges, those disappointments, those difficulties, that's what's going to push you to be everything that you were created to be. Because the pain is part of the process that will push you to your purpose. I've talked about this before. Those difficulties, those hardships, those hurdles, those challenging moments, that's what's going to push you to be everything that you were created to be. And that's part of my breakthrough. I embrace the pain now. I embrace the challenges. I embrace the difficult moments, because that's what's pushing me to be great. That's how I define myself. That's how I define my greatness. Because I'm like, okay, another challenge, bring it on. Another trial and tribulation, bring it on. Another difficult moment, bring it on. People, I think people are so fearful. I think we discussed it earlier. People are so fearful now. And I put fear into two categories: FEAR, right? So you can either forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. So you have to decide which part of fear are you going to be on. Are you going to forget everything and run just because it's hard and difficult? You're going to forget everything you worked so hard for. You're going to forget everything you put your blood, sweat, and tears in, and go and cry and go back home to mom and daddy because it's too hard? Are you going to face it and rise? Are you going to face the challenge and rise above it? Are you going to face the pain and rise above it? Are you going to face the difficulties and rise above it? So that's part of the breakthrough. That's part of my breakthrough. I face everything and rise above it, no matter what comes against me. I know I'm going to face it and rise above it, because God says the battles are not yours to fight. The battle is his to fight. And I give all the battles to him. And I trust him. I trust that he's going to empower me and equip me with everything I need to face every battle that I'm up against and rise above it. So that's part of my breakthrough. And that's part of the thing that I preach to other people on how to break through theirs.
Wow, that is very powerful. I've heard the forget everything and run, and I've heard like different versions of that. Um, but I have never heard the rise one. And that is really powerful. That I mean, that is such a, you got a clear choice here. I mean, you
Right.
can you can have fear be your enemy, or you can have it be your friend. And what I'm seeing you say is like, when you see this fear, or you see this kind of, like, oh man, this could be a tough one here, you're actually knowing, like, okay, I'm about to have a breakthrough, I'm about to have a good moment, versus someone else seeing like, oh, I'm about to shut down, I need to get away from this.
Right.
It's just,
Exactly.
yeah, that's super powerful, super powerful. um Thank you for sharing that too. On decisions, how do you go about making decisions, like big decisions for your career, or just decisions in general? And the reason I'm asking this is, it's my belief that decisions we make really shape our life. Like you've talked about decisions on when you had your knee injury, like what does that mean to you? Like what does that, like you had a decision to make, and then you decided, oh, I'm going to open another door.
Mhm.
So how do you make decisions, and what's some things you've learned about decision making?
Um, how do I make decisions? I pretty much base all my decisions on, is this something that will help people? Is the decision I'm making will be able to impact people? Um, will it impact my family in a positive way? Will it impact the people that surrounded me in a positive way? Will it impact the world in a positive way? It has to make an impact somehow. Every decision I make, it has to include people around me, people I love, and people that I'm trying to inspire and empower and motivate and encourage. Every decision I make from here on out, it's all about how it can reshape the world. How can it encourage the world? How can I encourage somebody that's broken, that's hopeless, that's sad, that's lonely, that's given up on themselves, that's given up on the world? How can my decision impact them in a positive way? How can my decision um, help inspire them, help encourage them? So everything I do is to help change the world. Everything I do is to help change the world in some kind of way. Everything I do is to hopefully will help somebody, will hopefully spark the mind of somebody that has given up. I want to put hope in somebody. I want to put I want to make somebody feel like they can accomplish anything. I want somebody to feel like they can achieve their dreams, or accomplish their goals, or whatever they're trying to do, just based on my testimony, based on my ministry, based on my experience. So that's what I base my decisions on. How is it going to impact somebody else? It's not about, I don't live my life for me anymore. I live my life for other people in hopes of inspiring the world, help changing the world.
Wow, I can see why you're successful, because with that mindset there, a lot of times we talk about serving others, we talk about that, but to actually live it and do it is just a whole nother level of existence. And so I really appreciate that you have that in your heart, you feel that, and then you also live that. It's just, I think example is one of the most powerful things we can do. And like your life is a great example to all of us, to that what we can do, what is possible, to keep that hope going, to believe in ourselves, to be fearless. And I appreciate all these things you've been sharing. I got a question here on, if you had a billboard and you could put anything on it, Is it what kind of message would you want to put out there for people?
Ah, wow. Um, Dang, that's a good one, man. Nobody's asked me that. That's a good, that's a good one. You know what? I would probably put my logo on there.
Hmm.
Faithful and focused, God's soldier. And the message behind faithful and focused is being absolutely faithful in who God created you to be and being focused and using the gifts that God has given you. So that would be the message. So my logo says faithful and focused. And of course, people want to know, well, what does faithful and focused mean? Well, that's what it means. That will pique people's curiosity to want to know, what does faithful and focused mean? Well, this is what it means: being faithful whom God created you to be, and being focused on using the gifts that He's given you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. You're a very eloquent person here. I mean,
Thank
you just
you.
got because I'm throwing things at you there, and that's a good, nice. But your logo and all that. I mean, it took you time to think through that. Like you had to come up with that. Like, what do I stand for? What do I want? So it makes sense you actually do that because it's you put a lot of time and effort into that. How can people get in touch with you or follow you?
I'm on all social medias: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just look for Kenyon Glover. Go to my website, kenyonglover.net. Yeah, I'm all over the place. I'm steadily moving up the ladder of success, out here changing the world. So I'm easy to find. You can Google me, Kenyon Glover. Once you Google me, it'll take you all through different, you know, news ads and magazine articles and all these kind of things. So I'm all over the place, man. I'm out here changing the world, man. I'm easy to find.
Okay. Is there anything you're currently promoting or you'd like to let us know about? A book or anything you're currently involved with?
I'm still promoting my book, and now that you mentioned earlier, the rebirth and resurrection of a new man. I also got a workbook also that goes with the book. It's called the Faithful and Focused Workbook. So you can also find both of those on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, just type in the rebirth and resurrection of a new man, and also Faithful and Focused Workbook. So I'll always promoting those. Also promoting my apparel line, the Faithful and Focus apparel line. I'm promoting it as well. I'm trying to create a movement, man. I am a movement. So I'm creating a movement, the Faithful and Focus movement. Also, I'm creating a movement called, I'm creating a program called Fitness Beats Depression. So I launched this program a couple of years ago, right before COVID hit. Then I had to kind of put it on the back burner, put it on hold when COVID hit. So I just relaunched it recently, Fitness Beats Depression. We travel in the world, encouraging people, empowering people to overcome depression through fitness. So, like I said, man, I'm out here changing the world, man, any way I can. I'm just hoping to inspire people, empower people, motivate people, however I can, man, to, get them through this battle of depression, this battle of mental health and anxiety and things like that. Like I said, so many people are broken, man. I talk to so many people daily that are just broken. They are broken. Their hearts are broken. They're tired. They're tired of fighting. That mental battle within their minds. That battle against the world. So many negative things out here in the world, and people just, people are losing faith, man. People are losing enthusiasm. People are losing their courage, and I'm just hoping to be that encouraging light, that will light that fire back into them and give them hope again. So that's what I'm all about, man. That's what I'm all about these days.
Well, I sure appreciate you being here because, like, to me, if I've am around someone and I feel better after being with them, I'm like, wow, that is a positive thing here. And if and all the stuff you shared today, I mean, I'm fired up. I mean, I want to go back and rewatch this honestly because I was jotting down notes on fear and the different types and everything else. And I've learned a lot here and I really appreciate this. And I want to be part of your movement here and help you and anything I can do in a small way here. So I'm just so grateful that I got to interview you today and that we connected in this way and that we're able to share this with others. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun. So hopefully, this won't be the last. We keep this moving, man. We keep this going. So thanks again.